Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Stepsbasic, and welcome back to my community show. This is me. Do I look greasier than usual? Yeah, that's not important. Anyway, today, first of all, announcements. Working through DreadX 3, getting a few side games in. I'm thinking, because after I'm done with DreadX, I know I told y'all I'm going to be starting up Borderlands. And I want to get into the Borderlands series, all of them. And I want to get them all on the channel. A titanic undertaking, I know, because there's a lot of DLCs, and it's going to take a while to get through them all. But it should still be fun. And I'm thinking I want to start switching it up, doing half-hour segments. I know that's going to stretch what was already a long-term plan into even longer term. But at the same time, I don't really have a whole lot of time during the day to plan out and do other projects. So it's like doing a half-hour show is a lot easier to edit, get up, and uploaded before, so I'll have enough time to do other stuff in between, which is, part of the thing that I do. I have the one series running, and then I have sub shows and series in the background and whatnot. But, I don't know if I'm fully, set on that yet. As much as I'd love the extra time, we are moving into the summertime here pretty soon, which means school will be out of session, and I will have even less time during the day. But, I don't complain about that because I love every moment of it. Apart from all that, we also have Warframe, done more in Warframe, and I'm excited to be back and been playing. I think I talked about that last time, actually, so I don't really need to. One moment. I forgot something. But anyway, none of that's really important. Don't really have much in the way of announcements. I have big plans on the horizon, ideas and whatnot. Oh, the shorts. I kind of like doing them, but they're not going to be very often. So far, I've had one for 2 weeks, but they're not going to be very often. They're mostly when I'm playing through and I have something really funny happen. I'm like, I can turn that into a short. Let's do that. But then, for the most part, it's like, it takes me a little while to edit it. Like the first one, funny enough, 1 minute, almost exactly 1 minute long, took me almost an hour to edit that thing. It should not have taken me that long. Admittedly, I did keep coming up with ideas when I'd finish a part of it. I'm like, maybe I should do this. And of course, add the captioning to it, make it funnier, make it more, hectic, which is the sort of thing. Now, the second one didn't take nearly that long. Mostly all I had to do was caption it, reposition my face on it, so it looked pretty cool. But I don't want to get rid of them, but I also don't want them to take up a whole time slot for a 1 minute or less than a minute long video, because that takes too long. But I do like doing the shorts, and I also post them over on my TikTok if you're interested in that. Phil's Family on TikTok. Also, Phil's Family has kind of shifted to doing dad jokes for the moment, which is also going up on my TikTok. So it's like my TikTok is dad jokes and funny gaming clips. There you go. If you want to follow me, if you can. Anyway, not important. Anyway, move on to the topic, because I've done, shut up, announcements. I didn't really have very many announcements. So today we're moving into the main topic of the day, which is the problem with OCs. Now, the funny part is, I say that, and I probably titled the video that, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I mean, I am, obviously, but not that OCs are a problem, but that there is a problem with OCs. And for those of you who are not in the artist/writer/gamer section and don't understand, well, if you're not in the gamer section, what are you doing here? But you don't understand what I mean when I say OCs. Maybe you're thinking like Orange County, California. No. I'm talking about original characters. And ow, I punched my table. I didn't hit it full on. I just hit that corner right there on my scar. But anyway, I'm talking about original characters. Original characters, really? Original characters are an artist's character that they develop and create, and it's more often associated with, artists, people who draw, paint, traditional, digital, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is, whatever medium they draw. But obviously can also be applied to people who create video games, people who write stories. Basically, if it's a character that you created yourself, then you have made an OC. Now, I myself, being the writer that I am, I have numerous OCs. But the problem with the OCs is that, going back to something I talked about at one point, the whole nothing is original anymore thing. And it's not the problem with people creating the OCs, but it always comes down to the problem of people who look at the OCs, the people who enjoy the art, enjoy the medium. The problem with OCs is not from the artist, but rather the observer, the casual observer, the enjoyer of the art. And it always comes down to one thing: originality. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of beautiful original characters out there who have been created so diligently and so, like, the artists put so much work into these characters, but then somebody always comes along and draws a comparison to another character who exists already, and it just irks me, like, I made this character who has the ability to manipulate metal. Oh, you mean like Magneto? You mean Magneto, right? It's Magneto. Shut up! No, he's not Magneto. Magneto does not have a monopoly on magnetic powers just because everyone knows who he is. And that kind of irks me. It's like, don't get me wrong. I understand. People like familiarity. They like the association that their brain can focus on. It's like, oh yeah, this person's like this person. And it gets pushed so far into things like even the whole idea, I've talked about this too, comparing one story to another because they share similar elements, i.e. Star Wars is basically Harry Potter, or vice versa, because Star Wars came out first. No, it's not. It's not. It's the thing. and that's the problem I find with OCs is that the artists and the creators and the character creators have worked hard on these characters to make these characters their original creation, and stuff like my character who has magnet powers, even though a little bit more nuance in there just to separate him from Magneto, because I knew people were going to draw the comparison. There's always going to be people who will come along and say, oh, it's just like that. Oh, it's just like this person. Oh, you're like, ugh. I actually had it happen to me once on this channel. And if you look back on it, I tried to do, I was going to do a this month in gaming sort of news segment I wanted to do, but then I did like one episode and I'm like, I don't really like it. So I'm like, nah, I won't do it. And the one and only comment I got on the video was, hey, this reminds me of PewDiePie. I'm not freaking PewDiePie. I don't even look anything like him. I'm fat and I'm hairy. My response to that, I think, was the best one. It's like, man, I wish I had half the energy that man has, because I'm exhausted most of the time. Like, even tonight, I had to call out of gaming with a friend of mine because I was just so exhausted. Now, of course, the blame doesn't solely fall upon the observer, the enjoyer of the art, because sometimes artists don't really put much in the way of effort into making character, an original character. They're just like, I like the idea of a gender-swapped Wolverine. Bam! Original character. And so it's like they really put the idea of Wolverine into their character because they wanted to see that. And no, I'm not talking about his daughter. But and sometimes like that, I've even had some ideas go in my head where it's like, oh yeah, I really like that character. Can I recreate that character? So that character is not an original character. It's just, it's still an original character. It's just based off of something. And what the artists in the world will call a reference. Even in my writing, I use character references. I use actor references when I'm thinking of, like, oh, I think this person would be a great fit for this role if this book were ever to become a movie. If the story were ever to become a movie, then I could cast this person as this and that person as that. But of course, naturally, getting ahead of my time, I have to get the books published before I can worry about them becoming screenplays. A lot of the things when it comes to the characters in my stories, they are derived from an idea of superhumans, people who have developed superpowers and whatnot. And so in the latest story I've been working on, I took a fantasy genre and I was like, I had a dream. It was a very interesting dream. It was a fun dream. about an epic battle on a ship in the middle of an ocean, and I took that dream, the basis for that dream, and I expanded it, and I've literally been crafting an entirely new world with it. Now it's funny because at first I was using all the classic fantasy races: orcs, elves, dwarves, gnomes, humans, the common folk. And I was using them in the story, but I'm like, these are just placeholders because the characters in my dream were not these people, i.e. the orcs were massive and green and had horns. So not traditionally orc in that aspect. And the elves were more avian in feature, like more bird-like, like beak noses and eyes. Why did I do that? And they were agile and appeared more like birds. And then the dwarves took a complete left turn and become something completely different. I ain't gonna spill the beans on that because you're not allowed to steal my characters. I see you out there. But my God, I started off with the basis of the fantasy characters, and I just started working on it, and I made original characters out of them. Now, of course, even the characters I made are not necessarily original in the complete and thorough, pure aspect of these characters have never existed, but in the aspect of they are not exactly what people expect when they read fantasy stuff. And so I'm kind of excited about that. It's something to be working on. But, of course, I know if and when said book gets published, because I still occasionally use the fantasy monikers, i.e. orc, elf, dwarf, gnome. I still use those monikers in the story, even though they are so very much divergent from the original style. It's just what the common tongue denotes them, i.e. the humans, how they see these creatures, i.e. the orcs, the elves, the dwarves, the gnomes. And even the different races have assimilated these words into their language. But I know the fantasy geeks, the fantasy nerds are going to read the story and they're going to be like, but that's not right. That's not what a dwarf is. What are you talking about? That's what fantasy nerds look like. That's what I look like. I'm a fantasy nerd. I love fantasy stuff. But that's the beautiful part about fantasy, you see? It doesn't have to be completely cut and dry because guess what? They don't exist. But of course, people are going to get upset because I use the monikers. And I know that. And I'm ready for it. I'm prepared. I've got my swords over there. You saw the video. I've got swords. Not that I'm going to use them on anybody, but I've got them. And I'll be like, look, sword, shiny, isn't it cool? And then they'll get distracted and be perfect. And therein lies the biggest problem with OCs is not even the OC's fault, not the artist's fault, sometimes the artist's fault, but mostly how they're received. And it can be incredibly disheartening as an artist, as a writer, as a character creator, to have the people come up and be like, isn't that Magneto? Because no, it's not Magneto. Come on, man. Is he ruling a class of mutants from an asteroid? No, he's not. He's a policeman officer. He doesn't do that. I had a hair in my mouth. Of course, there is the other side of it, fan fiction, where your OCs, so to speak, are not OCs, but they are characters of the other person's universe. And I don't have too much of an issue with fan fiction. I don't like the fact that most of it tends to go a little naughty, as it were. Y'all need Jesus. But, I don't necessarily have a problem with fan fiction beyond that. Like, hey, if you want to create a universe, I myself have written a bit of fan fiction. I wrote Buffy fan fiction once. That was kind of cool. But it didn't go smexy like everyone else's does. I just wrote myself into the story. And I was, actually, funny enough, it was my universe with me, and I touched the TV and I transported myself into it. Well, it wasn't really me, but it was a me stand-in, artist write-in, as it were. And, it was a form of escapism. My character had the power to transport himself into a story, and the story molded itself around him. And he didn't really have so much of a choice of what he became in the story. it just had to work with the story. And with Buffy, he ended up turning into a vampire, like Angel, which was kind of interesting. And so he had to. I never finished the story, but I really loved it. It was cute and fanficky, but not like Smexy time fanficky. Again, you need Jesus. Anyway, I think I've rambled enough. I hate it when I pick a topic and I'm like, oh, I can talk about that for hours. And then I look at the time, it's like 16:22, 16:23, 16:20. I could have talked about this for hours, but no, it was really just a very simple topic. My problem with OCs is that people often compare them to stuff that exists, and sometimes they're right on the money because said character was inspired by or referenced by the other character, but sometimes they're just there being jerks about it. But anyway, apart from all that, what are your favorite OCs out there? Do you have any particular OCs that are your favorite? Like if you have an artist, I follow Fragent and her not Mandalorian. God, I'm such a bad friend. Wheel of Mandalore. It's a comic that she does on Tapas, and she got a lot of pretty cool OCs in there. You should check it out. Fragent, Tapas. But anyway, you should check it out. Check out other artists' OCs. I know Ultramarine actually did a speed paint, speed draw yesterday, in fact, of one of her OCs, and that was pretty cool. So, do you have any of your favorite OCs? Do you have your favorite artists? Let me know, because I'm always looking for more artists to follow. But anyway, apart from all that, that's going to be it for me for today. Thank you all so much for joining me for this community show. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you did, please go and poke that like button for me. If you'd like to see more from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And of course, as always, you are more than welcome to leave a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And I can if I can. Jazz, tune in next time for another topic another time, and hopefully I'll talk about it for more than 16 minutes. And until then, good night.